Before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. An 8-year-old girl was swimming in a lake when she discovered an incredibly archaic weapon. On July 15, 2018, the Archaic family were enjoying a vacation at their holiday home in Tano, southern Sweden. The region had suffered a drought, and the water levels at the nearby Vidostern Lake were lower than usual. Not that this bothered 8-year-old Saga, who was swimming in it anyway. Incredible discoveries often happen when you least expect them. For instance, China's terracotta warriors were discovered by a farmer during excavations for a well. The Dead Sea Scrolls, meanwhile, were only found when a shepherd accidentally fell into a cave they'd been hidden in. It seems that fate and history often conspire against unwitting participants. With that in mind, let's go back to Saga Vanacek, splashing around and generally having fun on her summer holiday. Thankfully, despite the drought, the lake was full enough for sailing as well as swimming. The lower levels of water, however, had revealed a lump of concrete on the lake bed. To notify passing boats of the danger, Saga and her father, Andy, decided to place a marker on the water. Saga and her family had relocated to Sweden from Minneapolis, Minnesota in 2017. In fact, the state is where her father is from, and Saga had spent most of her life in the US. However, according to Swedish news publisher The Local, the family had moved to the country to be closer to the girl's maternal family. But it was during the family holiday in Tano where Saga and Andy's safety mission turned into something very special indeed. I asked her to bring the marker, but she was taking her time like a kid does, playing in the water, her father told The Local. I was getting impatient as the World Cup final was about to start. His daughter, however, was in no such rush. Despite Andy's impatience, however, Saga continued to play in the water. All of a sudden, she came into contact with something unusual on the bed of the lake. I felt around with my hands and knees when I noticed something that felt like a stick, she told Sweden's SVT News in October 2018. I was on the verge of throwing it away, but I didn't, Saga went on, which is just as well because what happened next would leave an indelible mark on this country's history. Then I picked it up, she recalled, and I said to my dad, "Dad, I found a sword." Saga's father, Andy, didn't quite see it that way, though, at least not to begin with. When his daughter waved the weapon above her head, he thought she'd found a branch. On closer inspection, though, it was clear that she had in fact found a real sword, and it was clearly incredibly old. In an October 2018 Facebook post, Andy explained how events unfolded after Saga pulled the relic out of the water. The next day, an archaeologist was on the scene with goosebumps on her arms. She took photos of the sword. She then laid it in the water to make sure it didn't decompose from being in the air for the first time in 1,000 years. Yes, you read that right. The weapon was originally estimated to be at least 1,000 years old. And yet, according to the John Coping's Ian's Museum, where the sword is currently housed, it was incredibly well preserved. Indeed, not only had the blade itself survived, but so too had its sheath. Intricately made from leather and wood, its appearance belies its time beneath the waves. No one has any idea what the ancient sword was doing in the lake or where it came from. What is certain, though, is that it's an incredible find for someone so young, and it was about to set off a fascinating chain of events. Eagle-eyed readers may have noticed that there was an almost 3-month period between Saga's discovery and its announcement to the world. John Coping's Ian's Museum, Mikael Nordstrom, explained why to The Local in October 2018. We asked Saga not to tell anyone about the sword because we were afraid that if it went public too soon, there would be a lot of people at the lake, perhaps destroying our possibility of finding things later. So how did Saga and her father, Andy, handle to keep quiet? I think maybe I found it harder to keep the secret than she did, Andy told The Local. And his daughter? She only told her best friend. However difficult, the silence definitely paid off. In the intervening period, the museum made another discovery about the sword. Museum officials have since revised the sword's age, believing it to be even older than first thought. They now believe that the weapon is roughly 1,500 years old, dating it to around the 5th century BC. If true, it was forged before the Viking era. Now that the secret's out, Saga has finally been able to tell her classmates about her find. They thought it was very fun and interesting to know about my story, she told the local. And it wasn't just her school friends that were impressed. Her teacher was so pleased that she gave the kids ice cream and even let them watch the television coverage. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Saga's story made news headlines around the world. She was just as popular on social media too, but for a somewhat different reason. In some corners of Sweden, it seems the 8-year-old has earned a unique legacy. Delighted with Saga's incredible achievement, many on social media have declared her as the new Queen of Sweden. Twitter user Thomas Lonegren agrees. According to legend, he tweeted, "She is the queen of all Viking territory. A new world order. Sweden is back on top." Commentators also drew similarities with the legend of King Arthur, who famously received the Excalibur sword from the Lady of the Lake. Others commented on how appropriate Saga's name is to her story. Saga, in English and Swedish, is used to describe an epic tale. She will get a saga written about her, the Saga of Saga, wrote Twitter user Jonathan. So, having earned such fame, how does Saga feel about finding something so important? "It felt very cool and a bit scary," she told SVT News in October 2018. Despite her experiences, though, the young girl has no plans to become an archaeologist. As she told the locals, she'd rather be a doctor, a vet, or an actor. As for the sword itself, it sadly won't be on public display for about a year. Michael Nordstrom confirmed to the Daily Mail in October 2018. He told the newspaper that the conservation process has several steps to make in order to preserve it for the future. And Saga? She likely won't be able to handle her sword again, but there's a campaign underway to have a replica made for the little girl to remember the historic moment. Not that she needs it. Swedish history will never forget her.